All right. So today's date, I am recording this as of May 7th, 2024, 2:47 p.m. So I do have some words I want to say about the prior broadcast. I did miss one or two important things, so I'm going to touch on that. And then I got for you journal entry number 5. So let's jump in. Okay. So I did have some stuff to touch on in the prior broadcast. That was journal entry number 4, the plan. Um, I had talked about how I had seen on now, mind you, this is just by chance. So a lot of the stuff that I discovered, yeah, I'm aware of how people act. Um, so behavior definitely let me know like that was the first sign there was something going on, even back in college when she was doing what she was doing back then. But the fact that I found out about the stuff, like the text messaging and stuff, it's kinda ironic, but it's like, it was by chance, a lot of it. Like, for one night, she had her phone out and she fell asleep, and it was like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and her damn phone kept going off, and I'm like, "Who the fuck is messaging her at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning?" So, I'm thinking it might have been her friend or somebody important or, something happened to somebody, and I'm talking about, like, her phone kept dinging, like, back to back to back to back. So, that's how that occurred, and that's how I found out about that. Also, when she was out that one night, it just so happened she had the device. I had literally just put the software on the device like a week or 2 prior to that. So that like I said, these instances where I caught her out doing what she was doing and whatnot, it was honestly by chance, but I was already kind of aware something was going on because her behavior had changed. There's always signs, changes in behavior. That's one of the caveats to women. Yeah, they're gonna do what they do, but there's always going to be changes in their behavior because the emotional component. I'm not talking about the whole women are emotional bullshit. No, she has no choice. There's no choice. Like it is what it is. It's fait accompli. She can't once she in her mind she makes up what she makes. Just like for guys, we're gonna react to how people respect us or disrespect us. There's no choice in that. We will. It's biological. It's literally ingrained in our DNA. We will react. Same way with her. As soon as she sees a better option, she could be in a committed relationship. This is true with all females, so you can say do whatever the fuck you want. But as soon as she sees a better option, she's going to react. It just is what it is. And that's what I actually understood already as a young man. But in that situation, there was something I didn't touch on, which was with the situation with the uh, the couples therapy. I actually don't believe I touched on why it was sabotaged or how it was sabotaged. So I'm gonna dive into that. All right. So here we go with a little bit of a story time. Okay, so this was during the time we were going to do the uh couples therapy. It's back in 2022. Um Now I made the journal. The date on this says January 30th, 2022, but I had already, asked her like, "Hey, find a therapist." I put it in her hands. I let her do it so it didn't feel like I was pressuring at her or trapping her with somebody that I trusted. No, I let her choose the person, everything. She got back to me. She chose the person. She set the date. It was like 3, 4 months in advance. I'm like, okay, hopefully we can hang in there for that long because shit was already flipping on its head at that point. But I'm like, okay, I got to bear another 4 months of this bullshit so we can go through therapy. Okay. All right. Hopefully we last that long. So come to find out, um, sometime later, like the week of or week before, I'm kind of crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's. Remember, I let her do all this. I didn't want to feel like I was overpressuring her because at this time she was trying to label me as a controlling, ass wipe. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'm hands off. And I think that's actually the goal. That's actually now I think about it. Sorry for sidetracking here, but when people do that stuff, um, they know they're doing something wrong, and what they're doing is they're trying to guilt and pressure you into giving them more freedom so they can do their devilment or whatever. Um, so that's why, like, hindsight, I'm looking back on it, I'm like, of course, that's why she was calling me a controlling asshole, was so I would intentionally back off so she can continue doing what the hell she was doing with little to no pressure. And that's, I was aware of that, but at the same time, we're going to do the couples therapy. So I'm like, hey, okay, fine. Let me get through these 4 months. We can do the therapy. We can address it then. Cool. Come to find out, the week or so prior, I had seen her behavior was kind of weird. She had been doing these searches that I had found out about. Um, she was looking at pink pill shit. So if you know anything about the pink pill, like people talk about the red pill, which mind you, I've never subscribed to red pill, by the way. I talked about that in my prior videos where I dove into that, and I was like, yeah, I was never red pill, but I understand where those guys are coming from, but they were just too, yeah, like they weren't my ilk. I'll just say it like that. So I was aware of their concerns, but my problems weren't their problems. So the pink pill on the other side, on the other hand, that's like where women go to like fake. That's the game where they do the whole trap a nigga pregnancies and stuff, like the fake pregnancy scares and all that stuff. Yeah, that's actually, yeah, that's the pink pill. So I had seen some stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, why are you watching that person? So that kind of made me start wondering about my situation from earlier before with our bastard child. So that kind of made me think about that. So, but side note, um, but back on the therapy thing. So something just didn't feel right. So then I kind of just started doing what I do, which is okay, let me cross all the T's, dot all the I's, confirm that this appointment is still on and all that. So I called the place. She had the contact info, which I had to like freaking, I don't know, like I had to badger her to get the information about the place, and I was just like, okay, hey, can you call it? I think what it was, I asked her to confirm that we're still on, because mind you, this is like a 3, 4 month wait. I'm like, hey, can you just confirm with the place that everything's good to go and blah 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 blah. She for some reason didn't want to do it, so I'm like, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna go do it myself. So I went and did it because she had gave me the information of the place. So I went ahead and did it, called them up, and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to confirm this appointment. They're like, okay, yeah, we got you scheduled for this time, this date. I'm like, cool. It was like a week. It was a week or so out. I'm like, all right, cool, great. And it's for the couples and blah 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 blah, right? And she's like, actually, no, we don't do couples therapy here. And then that's when I was like, what? I was like, hold on. Um, I looked on on their website, and it kind of did have some stuff on their website about couples therapy, but I guess they didn't update it or something. But if you call them, which she said she did, because I told her call to confirm and all that stuff. I already told her to do all this stuff, which is why this is one of the reasons she, when I tell you about the line, this is one of those parts where I told her, hey, can you just call to confirm everything that it's couples therapy, blah 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 blah, all that legit proper. She said she did it. I literally called them up. And actually, I think on the website, I think it said that they don't do couples therapy or they discontinue couples therapy. So that's when I called them right in front of her. I think because I remember calling them in front of her. So I might have called to be like, to confirm the appointment. And they said that they don't do the couples therapy. And I approached her with it. I'm like, hey, they say they don't do couples therapy and they haven't been doing couples therapy like for like the past 2 years. And mind you, she set the appointment like 3, 4 months prior. So if she had called them like she claimed she did, they would have told her we don't do couples therapy anymore. So she tried to say like, "Oh no, she called them and talked to them and blah blah blah," and they said they did couples therapy and all this shit, and just lying. So then that's why I was like, "Okay, sit right there," and I called them on speakerphone right in front of her. "Hey, excuse me. I'm trying to confirm if you guys do couples therapy." The lady on the phone was like, "Oh no, we don't do couples. When exactly did y'all stop doing the couples therapy?" "Oh, we stopped doing that about 1 2 years ago." I'm like, okay, because I hadn't, and I think I might have went in a little bit more. Now, she's sitting there listening to this conversation, and she told me she had called them to confirm, yes, we do the couples therapy, blah 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 blah. She said she called them, all that stuff. She never did. She just straight up lied. So, like I said, that was one of the incidences where she just straight up lied about it. So I don't know what her plan or plot was to get there because it was inevitable that come the date to do the couples therapy that they would have been like, sorry, we don't do couples therapy. It's just the one. So I don't know what her deal was with that or why she thought she could get away with that because eventually the date was coming, which is probably why she was doing all the research and crap about abuse and spousal abuse and financial abuse and all that stuff. So I don't know what she was plotting, but it didn't go through. So that's where that situation ended the way it did, and that's how she sabotaged it. Because I did hang in there for an extended period of time. It was like 3 4 month wait for this. Still dealing with the same bullshit and all that crap, all the lying, all that stuff. So that's when I was like, okay, yeah. At that point, things were dire, and I was already like, okay, yeah, this isn't gonna work. So now this brings me to journal entry number 5. So let's go ahead and dive into journal entry number 5, shall we? Journal entry 5. Panic. I'm having a panic attack. I have found something extremely damning and I have to get the truth. I know I now know that she 90%, 99% did have sex with someone during our relationship. I am not crazy. I feel such relief. After having the panic attack, that is. Now for healing. But there is an issue. I need her to come clean. I need it. I cannot stay in this relationship if she continues to lie to me. No wonder she has been so off and in a constant state of defense. The guilt must be eating her alive. I need to talk to her. If she refuses, I cannot do this. I can't. I will file divorce ASAP. I plan to sit her down and ask simple questions about the night and during the free pass time in 2015. Now, this is an old side note. This was actually an old situation. I'll actually talk about this a little later. Back to the journal entry. I plan to sit her down and ask simple questions about that night and during the free pass time in 2015. If she is able to finally come clean, I can actually finally forgive and move on. There will be consequences, but at least I will be able to remain married to her. If she does not, if she continues to hold on to her lies, then I have no choice but divorce. I may choose to entertain the group therapy, but I will begin divorce proceedings ASAP. I need her to say it. She must stop holding on to the lies. It has changed the very nature of her. The choice is hers to make. Ending. I am not suicidal. I love my daughter, and I may once again truly love my wife. So that ends the journal entry. And I do recall, I think I had found some messages. Um, this might have been the time where something just wasn't right. Like I was having a fucking panic attack or something. Like my sixth sense kind of goes bizarre because mind you, the whole shit with the couples therapy. I think at this time I didn't find out she had sabotaged it yet, but I think it was leading up to that. Because mind you, we were like a week or so out from it at this point in the time. During the time I wrote this journal entry, I don't believe I had yet discovered she had sabotaged it yet. So I got a little bit ahead of myself, but I do recall there were some messages I believe I found on her Facebook Messenger or something like that. Apparently, you know, usually she cover her trails when she's doing what she's doing. She doing the typical stuff that cheaters do. It's funny because I posted an article, I believe, on my Facebook or on the YouTube actually, where we were actually talking about like things that cheaters do, and it was true. That is stuff that they do. Saving contacts as wrong names, not saving contacts names, but like it's a known person, but they don't save the name of the person, so it's just a number in their phone. Of course, deleting messages, deleting call history, which you can all get through the phone company, mind you. Um, yeah, once you send a message, once your phone history it's there. You can get it from the phone company. Your shit never gets deleted. Actually, they always keep a record of it. Shout out to Edward Snowden, where he kind of made that very clear. Like, yeah, once you send something, it's always there. They store that data. Um, so there were some messages, ironically, on her Facebook Messenger, with her and I think one of her exes or something like that. And it was during the time period where we got back together. After she claims nothing happened at that incident, even though I already knew something did happen. She just held on to the fact that nothing happened. But then I saw in the messages that they were talking about the thing that happened, and I was like, okay, so she's definitely lying about that. And there's literally no telling how much more she's lying about, to be honest. So that's when I was like, yeah, I just need her to just be honest with me, um, so we can finally fucking move on from this. And of course, in proper her fashion, might be getting ahead of myself again here, but I do remember sitting her down and talking about that. She told me about the one incident, but she didn't know that I knew about the other incident, and that's when I was like, yeah, we're not having any more kids, and yeah, so I shot that in the bud. I was like, yeah, we're not, because I wanted to have 3 kids. That was the plan. And after I sat her down, gave her a chance, opportunity to come clean. Um, and then that's when I was like, yeah, we're not having any kids. This isn't going anywhere. And that's when I was like, hopefully we can get through the couples therapy and raise the one that we do have. But at the end of the day, I kind of already knew that our marriage was doomed. So maybe we can get through the one child and then eventually, we'd split up or something. But I already knew. I was like, yeah, this is not going to, this can't happen. Um, the free press thing that I was talking about, actually, I'll have to post it on my channel. But the free pass, that was actually the document I talked about in the last broadcast. When I referred to, I put it in writing that I would keep my options open. I titled, I think I did like 2 different copies. The first copy was the free pass. The second copy was kind of like a reiteration of it. And the second copy, like I said, was when I caught her cheating the second time when she was texting. It was actually like 3 or 4 guys. So that's when I was like, okay, yeah, that's the second time was when I was like, okay, yeah, I'm exercising my options now. And I think the 2015 was actually probably around the second time that I caught her, because we had the first iteration of the free pass when I was like, okay, I was kind of light with it. I didn't actually exercise options then. Then I caught her the second time, and then that's when I was like, okay, yeah, I'm exercising my options. She got demoted actually. Um, she was still my main chick at the time, because remember I wasn't exercising any options, but I was like, yeah, I'm you're demoted now. So I was like, so then that's when I immediately went to start exercising my options and started flirting, getting phone numbers, starting with talking with some of the chicks that I had already known that wanted to actually deal with me, actually, because she wasn't the only chick that I had the opportunity to date. I had other women, but when she wanted to try the monogamy thing, I did what most people would do. I cut off my female options. Not harshly or anything. I was just like, hey, I'm in this thing with this girl, I want to see where it goes, that kind of thing. So I pretty much, you know, stopped communicating with my gal friends. I'll just put it like that. She, on the other hand, uh I guess she told her guy friends she was in a relationship, but you know how it is with guys and with females. Um, yeah, you can tell somebody that you're in a relationship, but if you're still in contact with them, there's the opportunity or the chance that y'all gonna do that something's going to happen. So that's why typically in a relationship, you cut off I cut off my gal friends, she cuts off her guy friends. Now I cut off my gal friends because I already knew like, okay, yeah, she trying to smash. I'm, if I deal with her, if things don't go right, as soon as things don't work out in this relationship, you know, I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna cheat because I know I can deal without that. But I know how women are. Y'all try to get stingy with the sex and y'all start getting some type of way, and then y'all literally drive your dudes to cheat. So I'm not that type of guy. I actually would have just it would have made it easier for me to actually just break up with her. One fun fact that I can actually say here is I've actually never been broken up with. I've always been the one to cut off whoever the female is that I'm dealing with. One of the reasons that I'm able to do that is because I got options. So unlike most guys, I've always been okay with, okay, this ain't working out. You're treating me some type of way. We're done. And then, I always have somebody I can have over to cuddle and do all that fun stuff with. So that's how I operated. However, when I did the monogamy thing, I went all in. So I did. I went all in and I was like, hey, I'm going all out. Cool. Cut off my gal friends. I did that because that was out of respect for her and our relationship. I like the way things are going. And I assumed she did the same, but then when I found out she was still talking to some of those guy friends, I was like, hey, yeah, can you cut that guy off? Like I cut off my gal friends. It's only respectful you do the same. And she didn't. And to be honest, that was the first strike right there. When she said she wasn't gonna cut off her guy friends, that was the first strike right there. Um, I was not in contact any more than like, maybe like random post online. Like say if one of my gal friends posted something or something online, I'd be like, I might like their comment or something like that on Facebook, maybe, which I didn't really do that much because at that time I wasn't on Facebook like that. So maybe there might have been that, but there was no texting, no phone calls, no meeting up with my gal friends at all. Um, Her, on the other hand, I can't say the same. There was definitely text, and she probably did meet up with them a couple times. Actually, I know she did, so I'm just caveat there. But that was the first strike. When she said she wasn't cutting off her guy friends, I was like, yeah, strike one. There was something else that happened, strike two, and then eventually strike three came about, and I was like, yeah, we're done. So yeah, I think that covers everything with that. But I do recall this. I think in the next one, um, I see it's titled Peace. And I do think I know what that's about. I'm not going to get into that now. I'm not going to look at it until my next broadcast. So I hope you enjoyed this one. It showed a little bit more. It let me kind of. It's like I'm reliving the situation as I'm reading these. So I'm kind of like going back and like remembering all the stuff that was going on at the time, how I wrote it, the stuff. Like for example, the last journal entry I kind of ended with my wife. Like my wife might be a spy. So it kind of lets you know I was still being a bit facetious. That I still had that kind of part of me. I wasn't things weren't dread, dead, and gloom completely. And this one I kind of ended actually on a hopeful because when I did sit her down for this one, I really did want things to like I just really needed her to just be straight up with me. Like real talk. Like I don't know how I can be so straight up with her and then I just can't get the same reciprocation. Like I and that just irked my nerves. And I'm just like, can you just be fucking honest with me, man? Just be honest with me. Like stop this bullshit. Like just stop it. Just be honest with me. And to be honest, had she just been honest with me, I would have been like, cool, fine, we're fucking over it. It's done. There will be consequences. Mind you, I'm not stupid. I'm not one of those people, like I think there was a video. I forgot who it was. It was some rapper, one of the old school rappers. Who was it? I think it was one of those old school northern rappers. Forgot who the fuck it was, but he was like, how people be like some of your friends or something like that, and they tell you like, oh, like you should be loyal and all this bullshit. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm a loyal person, but let's just be real. I'm not gonna be stupid and be loyal to you, and then fucking. And I think what he said was like, I'm not gonna um double cross himself or something like that, where it's like he's so loyal to somebody else, he's fucking over himself or that type of shit. Because when people do and say shit like that, that's actually a red flag for exploitation. So when someone's trying to exploit you, especially if they're being devious and deceptive about it, they'll do that type of thing. Similar to how I just said, like somebody trying to say you're controlling, they're actually trying to get more freedom to do what they want to do on the side, which is usually, not, which they know isn't, you wouldn't approve of, i.e., cheating and stuff like that. So when they do that stuff, it's actually a maneuver to try to get more freedom and to make you seem like something's wrong with you because of their suspect behavior. So in a sense, when he was talking about um them being like people that try to push like, oh, be a real one, be loyal to your friends, real this, real that. Well, they want that because they want you to believe whatever they tell you, and then two, they want you to, in some cases, they want you to sacrifice for them, which which isn't something which would be right if they would do the same for you, which they wouldn't. But the funny thing is, like, they'll get themselves into some fucked up situation and then expect you to, sacrifice on their behalf. I don't mind helping people, but it's like they'll do something to fuck you over intentionally and then try to blame, like, guilt you into like being loyal or something. I think that's kind of like the route he was going, because of course, he, like a lot of other folks, when you're a certain level of status and you get to a certain point in your life, you start seeing the people around you that really wanted to double cross you. And that's what he was referring to, was the snakes that lie right next to you, that lie at your feet, and they're right there with you, and they're right there, buddy with you. Actually, I think during this whole Drake Kendrick Lamar beef, Kendrick talked about that. He referred to that in Drake and his posse. He's like, somebody snitching. Pretty much, that's pretty much what he alluded to. Um, and that's where that situation where it relates to what I'm talking about here, because I was trying to sit her down. I really wanted her to be honest with me. I really wanted things to work out, and had she been honest with me, I would have been like, finally we can move on, finally, because mind you, she had been holding on. Remember, this was back in 2015. I wrote this journal in 2022. So for that long, she had been keeping the shit. So that's when I was referring to the guilt. Like, it was changing her. Like, I assume it was the fucking guilt, because mind you, every time we try to bring this up, she gets very extreme. Every time anything even seems like it's leading back to this situation with the cheating and all that stuff, she gets extremely volatile and defensive, and just like, oh, we need to move on from that. I don't want to talk about that. I think I referred to that in one of the journals, actually. But yeah, that's when I was like, okay, like, and then she starts doing weird stuff, drinking, the drug usage and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, come on now. Like, can we, you really, I don't condone that. I don't like that for you. It's not good for you. But that's the route she was going down. And to be honest, I was just like, okay, can we get this over with? Like, can we just get the guilt part out the way? I think when I sat her down to have a conversation, I was straight up. I was like, hey, if you're honest with me, fine. We can finally move on. I will never talk about this shit before again. However, the consequence is, if there's some shit going on, I will let you know about it. Straight up. And when I said some shit going on, I'm talking about, hey, if I start getting my suspicions that something else is going on in our current relationship, I ain't going to bring up that old shit. You're going to have to address that new shit. Because what tends to happen when people do that type of thing is they tend to resort back to their ways. So for example, the cheater, they always want you to forget the last time they cheated. And then every other time that you have your suspicions that they've cheated in the current and future relationship, they're gonna try to guilt you and they're like, "Oh my god, you told me you weren't gonna talk about the old stuff. You blah 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 blah. I can't live my life. Blah 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 blah." And then they try to guilt you into it. All the while they're actually cheating on you. So all the while they're just finding a different way. This is where the manipulation comes in. But they're finding a different route into allowing them to cheat freely, but at the same time, kind of trying to guilt you into being more hands off, similar to the whole calling somebody controlling thing. What somebody that isn't controlling, think about it. if you're not a controlling person, you have a task or something at hand that you're trying to do, and somebody tells you, dang, man, you're so controlling, man. Your initial response, if you aren't a controlling person, one, you might try to tell them how you're not controlling, but they're just gonna do some like I said, women love to argue. They're just gonna do some bullshit jiggermaroo and just continue to push the point that you're controlling no matter what you say. So eventually, if you're aware of that, your initial response is to back off. That's what it is for any person. If someone is trying to impose on you that you're being controlling, your initial response is, okay, let me prove that I'm not controlling. And then you back off. But guess what? You've just given up control. Let chaos ensue is pretty much what you've guaranteed. You see what I'm saying? So I don't say controlling as in actual controlling, like domineering, like a manager that is micromanaging everything. No, I'm talking about controlling as in like pay your debts, like simple control over discipline, like yeah, basic control. So if you aren't controlling, you weren't controlling to begin with, meaning you weren't already domineering, but you're kind of like, okay, what the fuck do you mean controlling? Like, do you want me to have no input whatsoever? And then you come to find out actually, yeah, that's actually what they want. They don't want any input. So you could assume that they're stealing money from you, which they might be, and then they want you to just not say or do anything about it because if you do, you're controlling. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. But if I have anything else, I'll probably address it in the next one when I talk about my next journal entry, which I can see it's titled Peace. So that's interesting. I think that's actually probably after I sit her down to have this conversation. So we're going to find out about that. And I'm already aware of it, but that's going to kind of freshen up my memory about it. So we'll see when we get to it. So thanks for watching. And till next time, folks.